Hello, this is Will Ewing, and welcome to episode 7 of my education podcast. This episode is an interview with Hugh Gammell. Hugh read history at Cambridge and then spent most of his teaching life teaching at Charterhouse. He was a housemaster for many years there and ended his career just a year and a bit ago as Registrar of the school, so the person that is in charge of admissions. So he reflected on his times teaching from the 1970s up until the present day. We talked a lot about teaching teenagers and how that has changed and what stayed the same as well. We talked quite a lot about teenage rebellion and risk-taking amongst teenagers and how that might have contrasted between the past and the what he might say was the conformism of teenagers today. We talk about mavericks and misfits and those pupils of his that have really made him proud and have made a difference. We also talk about the importance of having non-academic interests and how boarding schools and independent schools, whether they're right or wrong in their ability or their existence, how they help with developing that hinterland amongst teenagers. The sound quality is atrocious, I'm afraid. We had lunch in a nice pub and then I just set up the microphone as a bit of an experiment at the end over coffee just to record a few of his reflections. It's much shorter than the other podcast episodes. So I'll certainly have learnt my lesson for next time. But if you persevere after a few minutes, I found that you begin to tune in and you can hear our discussion pretty well. Any thoughts as ever, do let me know, and I hope you enjoy it. Thanks very much. Bye. Thanks. Bye.
I think kids experiment. It's whatever is available to experiment with. I don't think a huge amount has changed.
That's never been different.
I don't think so, and I think. And there are always some kids who are going to be more experimental than others because that's the way kids are.
Yeah.
A lot of kids are really scared of drugs because they get enough propaganda.
Yeah.
They get told how dangerous these things are.
Yeah.
And they get told that they might be expelled from school.
Yeah.
And some kids are natural risk takers and others aren't. And the ones who get expelled from school very often go on to do amazing things later on in life. So, being expelled from school is not necessarily the disaster that people often think it is.
Absolutely.
Because it's often a sign of having the sort of personality that is likely to lead to success later on. Which is risk-taking, entrepreneurship, all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how many, I often say that actually being too successful at school is probably the worst thing. Because, it may be that's the pinnacle. And it's not obviously always true, but it can be true. And the poor people who, particularly the games players, who are heroes at school and for whatever reason just don't make it later on, and they become rather sad people hanging around. Old boy, they become sort of professional old boys.
Yeah.
And, if you see too much of them after they left, that's always a bad sign.
Yeah.
They ought to be moving on to better things. And certainly your school days shouldn't be the best years of your life.
Absolutely.
That's really sad.
Do you buy this line that there's something about the teenage brain neurologically which is pro-risk taking, or it's just a passage of...
I'm not in any way expert, but I think...
Did you see that in your time?
What?
Teaching, yeah. There was something peculiar about the teenage risk-taking that made it a feature of being a teenager that then eroded as they grew up.
I don't. I mean, I'm not really an expert. I think teenagers, by definition, want to take on authority, don't they? I mean, in many ways, people who are too conformist at that age, you think they're missing out a bit.
Yeah.
And you, as a housemaster, I didn't mind people who were naughty.
Yeah.
I minded people who were malicious, and I particularly minded people who couldn't live peaceably with their neighbours.
Yeah.
But the ones who were naughty, in many ways, that was part of our job, was to try and prevent them from going completely off the rails.
Yeah.
But it never particularly bothered me. I didn't have sleepless nights over that.
Do you think that now that we're in the time when, let's say, the top jobs are ever more risk averse when it comes to selecting candidates, that actually, compared to maybe when you first started teaching, that these days, if you don't have perfect grades and a good university, that your future is a bit stymied?
Yeah, I think so, possibly, but I think people who have real entrepreneurial talent and the kind of, as you say, the risk-taking mentality that goes with it, they will find their way.
Yeah.
And they may have disasters along the way, shipwrecks, but on the whole, they're not going to be too downcast by that, and they'll get there in the end. But it all depends what you're looking for. If you want to be successful in the sort of more conventional world, it's very good to go through the conventional path, and those people are very, very well rewarded.
Yeah.
But the people who make a difference, are often mavericks and often people who are very awkward at school. And some of the most successful old Carthusians I know didn't complete the course. And because they were too hot to handle.
How much was that a part of how you thought about your job as a teacher or as a housemaster, to prepare people successfully for a successful future, or prepare people to make a difference?
I think parents are paying the fees so that their sons will go through the conventional course, and any schoolmaster who ignores that is not doing his job properly. So as a teacher, I wanted the kids I taught to do well. I wanted to interest them in the subject, so I didn't. It wasn't just a matter of preparing them for exams, but that was part of the job. As a housemaster, I like to encourage the pupils to really follow their particular lines of interest, and even if those were quite unconventional. And I'm really pleased that a guy who wrote house plays when I was a housemaster is now writing plays as as his profession. And a chap who was some musicians who did brilliant music at Charterhouse are now professional musicians. And that's I think the great glory of boarding schools is you've got time. They can do their studies and do perfectly well their exams, and have lots of other time for the other things.
Was there ever a conflict between what you described earlier as being your job as your parents saw it, and maybe the job as you might have conceived it, as shaking up a child's conventional outlook on the world and actually steering them towards something more impactful, more glorious, more...
I don't think I ever tried to steer. The steering often came from them. And so I wasn't trying to push people out of into things which they wouldn't necessarily be interested in. What I wanted to do was give them opportunities, enabling. So if somebody wanted to write a play, I said go ahead and write it. I didn't say no, that's going to interfere with your A-levels. I said go ahead and write it, and we'll back you and we'll put it on. And I always found that actually, that probably getting success in one area tends to feed into others. So very often the work benefited rather than was a casualty of that. I sometimes felt I was protecting, these pupils from their parents a bit, because
a
parents
typical one.
can be very, very much on their case, and I was trying to, to get some sort of balance. But you can't ignore parental concerns. So do the day job properly, as it were.
But you were a history teacher. You must have had quite a few children going from GCSE to A level whose parents wanted them to do a subject like economics, and the child wanted to do history.
Yeah.
How did you tackle that particular?
Well, I was lucky. The history department at Charterhouse was very successful, and lots of people wanted to do history. And one of the great glories of the British system actually is that it doesn't really matter what you do at university. If you read a subject like history and do it well, that doesn't close off many avenues. And lots of people who've done history have ended up as bankers and lawyers, and some even carry on with history. You don't know, but most of them don't. And I think that's so. I didn't really have to have that argument. We used to compete with economics a bit, but a lot of people did both. And so. And the idea that you learn anything useful from economics is speechless one, in my opinion.
So what did you think that you learned most about what made teenagers tick over your time teaching? And I suppose if there was a young teacher going into teaching now and you said, well, here are a few things I learned about...
all I learned was that they're incredibly various. They can be really difficult. But if you there's virtually no one who, if you can find out what really is important to them, you can't actually boost them by supporting that. And I say again, in a boarding school, you have the great benefit of time. You've got time to both get to know them really well, but also so they can explore their particular interests, passions, without it becoming a sort of issue because they're not doing their work. So I think there's something in I mean, I can remember very few boys or girls that I taught or was housemaster who didn't have something which sort of made them light up. Their eyes would suddenly, all of a sudden they go from this early, impossible to, oh gosh, that's something that matters to me. So even if it was something which I knew nothing about, which mostly it was, if it was sort of some arcane variety of music, I still wanted them to, write music, form a band, whatever. Do it. Do it. Go and do it. Don't talk about it. Do it. And if you do it, and gain some success at it, that benefits you all round.
Absolutely.
And I think,
Did you generally find that children needed more discipline or more encouragement?
I was never a great one for discipline, I have to say. I mean, getting up in the morning, all those sorts of things, important. Okay. But minutiae of discipline, not really an issue.
Could you have seen yourself working in a more progressive school like a Bedales or Bryanston, where they really took that liberal culture?
My career was mostly in one school, and I sort of, in some ways, regret that I wasn't more adventurous. But they kept offering me new jobs, so and my various rather feeble attempts to leave never succeeded. I think schools have obviously have different characteristics and different sort of ways they present themselves to the outside world, but there's a lot of similarities between all of them.
Absolutely,
really. And Charterhouse was always a liberal school.
Yeah.
There was always a lot of permissiveness there
Yeah.
in terms of wanting to, not permissiveness in terms of allowing anything to go, but not having a draconian disciplinary system and allowing kids to express themselves as much as possible. And I think all schools are like that ultimately. Whatever they say on the tin, underneath there's a lot of that going on. I think it's really important.
I suppose they reflect their customer base to an extent, the private schools, and that most parents are much more liberal with their children now than they perhaps were.
I think they do. I mean, they do want you to do a job.
Yeah.
They don't. They're not happy if you end up, or if their child ends up, completely off the rails and with no qualifications. On the whole, that doesn't happen. And schools are pretty good at it. And because, on the whole, when it comes to exams at least, motivation does eventually click in. Even if it's tragically late in some cases, they usually just about get away with it.
Is it more of a casualty if someone leaves school, quote unquote, off the rails because they have been too expressive and too given into their own emotions and not disciplined enough, or the opposite, where they are too repressed and they are almost too motivated either extrinsically by their parents or intrinsically?
Well, we've had, I can remember examples of kids sort of almost collapsing under the pressure. Partly from home and partly from within themselves.
Exactly,
it's pretty rare actually at Charterhouse. I think it's more common in schools which are more obviously, where really high performance. I always sort of think of, Westminster, 40% or something go to Oxbridge. I always think of the other 60%. They're all failures, and yet they're going to top British universities and probably going to do really well. So. I think there's a sort of unique sort of pressure in those very highly academic schools, and possibly particularly girls' schools. So there weren't that many people who sort of couldn't cope because they were in a sense trying to be too perfect. And obviously we had some really sad examples of people who had to leave partly because they were stupid enough to get caught. Usually more than once, and maybe they learned something from that. And if they ended up, getting good tutoring, they probably were okay for the future. People forget that. You're allowed to go, to have a few blots on your escutcheon in early years. And there are the sort of kids who basically school just doesn't suit them because they're too rebellious and too, and too opinionated and too determined to do their own thing. But they very often will be very successful anyway, because they have that sort of entrepreneurial spirit about them, which is going to ensure success in later years. So, I think people who go to independent schools, private schools, are very fortunate. Because they do get a good education, they do inherit a really, really strong network. A lot of things are made easier for them in later life because of that education. Whether it's right in this day and age is very debatable, I think.
Absolutely.
But it's there, and I don't blame parents for spending their hard-earned money to give their kids that sort of advantage in life. As long as they don't feel that the world owes them a living, and as long as they're not arrogant about it, I think that's really important. I think that's one of the things that schools should make a big effort to
wear it lightly,
to work against. I think I say they are fortunate. They ought to feel some sort of sense of obligation to not just to enjoy their good fortune, but to contribute in other ways.
Absolutely.
And be good citizens.
Did you see the teenagers change much from the 70s to 2016?
I think in a superficial way, yeah, obviously. I mean, but I don't think that much.
Hairstyles and fashion.
and they were much more overtly rebellious. When I started teaching.
Yeah.
And they've in many ways become much easier.
Yeah. Can you give some sense about how they were rebellious in the 70s or 80s?
Well, yeah, I mean, the obvious things of long hair, but they were kicking over the traces of, fairly, what was in many ways a fairly old-fashioned sort of system of education. Endless compulsory games, all that sort of stuff, which no longer really exists. And a lot of kids just hated all that. And sort of. But I think the worst of that was probably over when I started. I started in '78, so most of that sort of really it was my father's generation that had to cope with all that, and they did it very wisely. I think actually, I think headmasters like Oliver Van Os at Charterhouse were really wise men, and they managed to kind of ride with the punches and keep the show on the road when their pupils were being really nightmarish.
Outrageous.
And they were very often had lots of very conservative members of staff sort of giving them a really hard time for letting all the sort of things that mattered go, like short hair and cricket. So I think social media, that's I suppose the biggest change, and luckily I'm fortunate I didn't really have to deal with that too much.
Did you see early, when you retired, did you see the haunting effect of social media on the teenagers that you sort of say goodbye to? Was it noticeable?
One of the great things I think is that if you offer most kids the choice between running around after a football or getting involved in a play or playing the guitar, thrashing at a drum kit, or sitting in their rooms sort of gazing at pictures of each other, most of them will opt for the more active, and I think again that's what independent schools can do. I think the greatest enemy of teenage years is boredom, and I think social media fills up that. And I do feel sorry for kids who go home at 3 o'clock, and spend the rest of the day talking to their friends on their phones. I just think that's rather sad, and so we had. There were definitely some kids who got hooked on gaming, and there was some in the latter years there was certainly some nasty stuff on social media. By then I wasn't really personally responsible for it anymore, so I got asked by parents quite a lot, but we tried to handle it the best we could.
One of the criticisms that people make of social media, smartphones, gaming, is that it seems to leave teenagers even more the victim of boredom. It drains the world of meaning or vitality or richness in some way. Any thoughts on that?
I think it is sad, because I think there's nothing can really replicate actual personal contact, doing things together. If you talk to, as I do from time to time, people, I go to the old boys' dinner at my boarding house every year, and talk to people in their 30s and 40s who were in there at my time, and I think that they still have really strong friendships,
Yeah.
friendship groups from school, and the things they reminisce about are always to do with what they used to get up to. A lot of it nefarious, but those are the things they remember best. And you know, I was vaguely aware of some of it, but certainly not of all of it. But, you know, that's and I don't think anyone's going to remember, you know, sort of triumphs on WhatsApp or I mean, you know, well, I may be wrong, but I just don't think that has the same impact as a sort of genuine social interaction. So I do think it's sad, and I think it's incumbent on schools to try as much as they can to provide alternatives. I don't think you can outlaw it by bans. I just don't think that works usually, because kids are amazingly clever about getting around bans. You know, it's like prohibition in America. As soon as you ban something, all of a sudden, you know, you have a black market overnight, and it means you've got no control. So I think it's providing alternatives and you know, obviously giving them the necessary education, warning them, but they don't tend to listen to warnings. I think to some extent they have to learn for themselves.
Talking about what your old students recollect when you see them now, one of the common criticisms of the public school boy or girl is that beyond the scholars, all they seem to have remembered from their school days as games, pranks, that sort of thing, and that they haven't come out full of, I suppose, a rich understanding of music, art, literature, history, science. Do you think that is true?
Well, it depends. Some of them have. And those are the ones who have a natural bent, natural interest in those particular things, and that's been stimulated and encouraged. The fact is that, you know, if you take 20 human beings, probably 10 of them are going to be mainly motivated by those things, you know, by work and pranks and not work, sport and pranks and so on. Perhaps more, the ones who are going to develop a genuine passionate interest in music or literature or something are probably the exceptions rather than the rule. I think to have a hinterland is important, and I think, you know, to enjoy reading and to enjoy listening to music. That's why so sort of amateur interest in those things. I hope many of them do. And talking to them, I think they tend to have kept up, and they've, you know, if they've been involved in them at school, even if it's only peripherally, they'll have something to go on.
Is it a school's job to put children in front of great works of art or literature or music? And
I think it's a school's job to introduce them. But I think too much, like everything else, too much compulsion is likely to be counterproductive. So you ought to have the opportunity. And again, it's not so much being put in front of; it's actually doing. So, you know, schools with school theatres, as Charterhouse has, and most of the independent schools now have, you know, as many people as possible should be involved in those theatres, and it shouldn't just be for the drama students or whatever. And you know, you should be doing great plays regularly. You shouldn't just be doing stuff that is immediately accessible. So you should do Hamlet every now and again. Hamlet actually works very well in schools often. You've got to have somebody who can learn the lines, but if you have, you know, it's actually a very good schoolboy play. And you know, equally the musicians should be tackling really major works and so on. I think compulsion is always dangerous. However tempting it is, it's likely to lead to a restive and difficult audience. But if you can create an ethos in a school where people on the whole are prepared to, you know, will want to back their friends, will want to go to things even if they're not exactly their normal taste, because they're prepared to experiment. They want to, and the culture of going to things rather than a culture of not going to things. That I think really helps.
Which again, arguably, smartphones and social media undermine.
Can do,
because they give an opportunity.
But again,
to something else.
I think in a school which has got a lively kind of culture about it, they'd actually rather go to a theatre and watch a play than sit around playing games. But it's really important that theatre is really integral to the school, and not just an elite thing which is doing stuff which nobody else is really interested in. That's not too difficult with theatre. I think with music, classical music is the most difficult. But again, there should be some events which people really enjoy. Everybody goes to. Whether it be Harrow's songs or candlelit carols and Charterhouse. It's so they won't necessarily go to all the concerts, but at least go some of them.
And Hugh, finally, what are your thoughts on contemporary education, but particularly boarding, and where do you see it going in the next few decades?
I think it's astonishing that it's survived as long as it has. I think it's got an awful lot of life still in it. I think boarding schools have adapted. Many of them have become much less sort of full-on boarding, and I think that's popular with parents. I think actually it serves the need. I think they're much too expensive. I think that's really sad, but I'm afraid that's happened. It's very difficult to row back from that. But it's a great example of how actually being forced to listen to your market, the people who can make you successful or not successful by sending their children to your school, does force schools to be aware of what and to adapt. And I think they'll probably carry on being successful. Everybody sort of expects them to die, predict that they will die at regular intervals, but they don't seem to be showing many signs of dying at the moment. And, there's some really strong brands out there, of course, which helps.